So, welcome to my first British cooking video. I'm an amateur chef, the son of British immigrants to Canada, and over the last, I'm 54 years of age almost, and over the last 20 years I've made pork pies at Christmas, cow's tongues, and pickled onions. Those are my three things that I make, sometimes with varying levels of success. This year, I wanted to do that again, and so being a bit of an amateur photography guy, learning, I thought I would start to make videos about what I like to do in the kitchen. So today, I'm going to start to make pickled onions. So these are Hayward's pickled onions. These are traditional British pickled onions. I love these things. Most people don't, because it's basically a very tart onion, but they're awesome. I know my kids, my ex-wife, they all enjoy them. So I'm going to make a batch. I'm running late because Christmas is in 8 days, and so they're not going to be ready for Christmas. They should sit for about a month in the jar, but it's all part of the process, not necessarily the end result that you're doing around Christmas time. So I'm going to make these and maybe bite a couple of them before Christmas, Boxing Day, and then enjoy them through the rest of the winter. So I've gathered together. It's hard to find the right size onions. We're living in Woodstock, New Brunswick, small town, so there's basically 4 types of onions to pick from. So I've just got, basic onions here. I went to Walmart and I found a bag that had some smaller ones. These are probably twice the size that I need. So I'm going to peel them back to a smaller onion. Again, it's cheaper to buy a jar of this. I mean, they're not cheap. This is probably like $7 or $8, and I'm probably going to spend, I don't know, $20 making them. But like I said, it's all part of the process, not so much what it costs. You're not doing this to save money. You're doing this to learn and to maybe over time save money as you get better at it, but to learn and enjoy something. So I've got the onions, malt vinegar. Again, had a hard time finding malt vinegar, so this is just President's brand malt vinegar. I like them. You want them nice and dark. And if I didn't have enough malt vinegar, I've just got some regular natural vinegar. Some people use apple cider vinegar. I think I've used that in the past. And then pickling spice, and then jars. And so, oh man, I've got some old pizza sauce jars I'm going to use. Might get 2 or 3 of these onions in there. I also went out and I bought this big jar from where did I get this from? Walmart, I think. I think it was $8. It wasn't Walmart. I think it was Superstore. So this was like $7.50 on, and this is like perfect for them. And once I get rid of the onions, I can use it for rice or whatever. So again, it's all just part of the process. And so the first thing I have to do, I've been watching a couple of YouTube videos to bone up on my knowledge of how to get this done, but it's pretty simple. You peel the onions, you salt the onions to extract some of the moisture out of them. You boil the pickling spice along with the vinegar. Let it cool down a little bit. Put the onions in the jars. Pour over the lukewarm or cold pickling vinegar. Seal them up and put them in a dark place and leave them. And then in about a week, I'm going to try one and we'll see how it goes. So I'm probably going to cut away over the next several minutes here, or what will look like minutes, but it's probably going to take me an hour to do the various processes. So probably just leave the camera running and I'll edit it all after. Hopefully my son will help me do the editing. So first thing I'm going to do is I've got my board, I've got my onions, so I'll start to peel them, and we'll go from there. So I've got my knife, my onions, and I'm gonna start peeling them all. So I'm gonna peel all these onions. And then salt them. So back in a minute. And we're back. So I gotta duck down every once in a while. I wanted to see you show. So cutting the onions. This one's not too bad. I'm gonna put a nice little slice in there. And I don't mind if I take an extra layer off because, like I said, these onions are kind of large. That one's not too bad, but that's about as big as I want them to get. I don't want them any bigger than that. This one's too big, and this is an example of what I'll do to pare it down. I'm gonna take multiple layers off of this until I get down to a size that I want. And like I said, we're not doing this for saving money. We're doing it for the experience. So yeah, I know I'm throwing a lot of onions out. So that's a little bit better, right? I want them a decent size, but not too small. I could have got pearl onions, but you know, pearl onions, they're like just little baby onions, and it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a nice meaty onion that you can accompany a really nice sandwich with, or Saturday morning breakfast. See, that's probably a perfect size. And I'm starting to cry. So, as my loved ones would attest, I'm a bit of a crybaby anyway. So, anyway, I got to keep going. Okay, I'm back, bawling like a baby. So this may be blasphemous, but I've also got these. What the hell are they called? Shallots from Costco, which this is the size onion I really want. So I'm gonna chop up some of these shallots and put them in. You know, basically it's the same thing, just a little. I can't remember quite honestly if it's a milder flavor or a more pungent flavor. I'll have to Google that after. But so I mean, that's perfect. Okay, as opposed to, you know, that one. So anyway, it'll be the Tom Rivington version of English pickled onions. So I've got a whole bunch of these. I'm gonna chop up and see what happens next. I'm right into it now. And hopefully, I better put my glasses back on. This is a really nice knife, and I'm trying not to cut off an appendage. It's getting to the point where I can't even see what I'm doing. Oh, I just messed up that shallot. Maybe I'll edit a bunch of this not so great YouTube-ing stuff out. Okay, one more. And then I'll go on to the next step. So, the last shallot. It's got kind of a green outer. I'll take that off a little bit. I think we've got plenty of onions here to do. Okay, so we've got this. You see that? Point it down a little bit here. This is full of onions. I'm going to salt that. Oh, back up. So I'm going to clean up my mess. And then I'm going to the next step. I got the jars in the oven. A YouTuber said to wash them out, put them in the oven at 200 degrees, and that should sanitize them sufficiently. Again, this process, it doesn't require a canning process. These aren't being left for a year. We're not looking for a long-term shelf life. I hope to eat these over the course of the winter. So, and the people I give them to. So, just sanitizing the jars sufficiently, so there isn't anything funky growing right off the bat. So I'm just going to clean up and then go on to the next step. Heidi ho! So peeled all the onions, and then I've put them in the jar, and I filled the jar up with water. And now I'm going to measure how much water comes out of this, and then I'll know how much vinegar I need to boil. I'm guessing a couple of liters. So hold on a sec. So between that jar and that jar, making one for my ex-wife, that much liquid came out, so it's just over 2 liters. So now I know I need to make I need 2 liters of vinegar. So my goal here is to use mostly malt vinegar. I guess I could have just seen how much is. So that's 500. So actually 4 of these and a little tiny bit of white vinegar will do it. So I don't really need to measure that anymore. So I guess I should have thought that through a little bit. Anyway, so I've got all the vinegar I need. I'm going to need a bigger pot. So I've got the big pot. I'll pour this in. A couple more bottles. I could use a smaller pot maybe. I don't really have a full accompaniment of, I'm not really in focus, am I? Or in the shot. How's that? Is that a little better? Yeah. I don't have a full accompaniment of pots and pans, so I'll make do. A little of that, and I think I'll just put I'll just throw some of this in. That's probably plenty. And then some pickling spice. And it says here, blah blah blah. Quarter of a cup for 5 liters. Is that what it says? Quarter of a cup for 5 liters. Oh, no, 7 liters. Anyway, the guy on YouTube said a couple of tablespoons, so. My daddy would say, just put a whole bunch in, because he wasn't particularly. My dad made all this stuff, and I don't think my dad ever measured anything. So I think that's plenty. That's probably half the. How much would that be? Oh, yeah. So I'm going to get that on the go. And then I'm going to salt the onions. So I've got some some kosher salt here, and I'm going to put a bunch of this in. I'm just going to wash all this off after anyway. And then I'm also going to use some finer salt. There's that. Where's my salt thing? I don't know. I'll just go with this. And the idea is to toss these, get them well coated. Toss them around every. I've got to go out to a meeting. I'm a work at home guy. Let's just pretend I'm doing this on my lunch hour. Don't tell anybody. So I'm going to let that sit for a couple hours, and then when I get back from my meeting, I'll give it another turn. I'll probably let the salt do its business for much of the afternoon, and then later tonight I'll rinse them off, put them back in the jars, boil the vinegar up, and then jar them up. So hopefully they'll be in the dark space by the end of the evening. All right, cheers. So the onions have been sitting in the salt for we'll pan down here a little bit. The onions have been sitting in the salt for about well, I guess it's upwards of 3 and 4 hours. So I'm going to wash the salt off, and then I've already boiled the vinegar and the spices, and it's cooled down. And then so I'm going to start to I'm going to wash these off and then start to fill up the jars. Okay, so got our jar and our vinegar, and so I'm going to fill up. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. I'll put the onions in. They're all going to fit in one. Okay. So now I'm going to take my vinegar and ladle that in. Now I could try and do this all at once, but I'm sure I'd pour it all over the counter, and then the place would stink like vinegar for the next several weeks, I'm sure. So I'm just going to keep ladling this in. Which is going to take more patience than I normally have, but I'll just soldier on here. I'll probably end up editing a bunch of this out because it's taking entirely too long. It looks good though. there we go. Oh, I almost forgot. Need to put in a little sugar. Not sure why, but put some sugar in. I think that'll be enough. Not quite sure how much, but there we go. There we go. See how they turn out? Bye-bye. See you when the cows come.